Once again, welcome to this forum. As everyone knows, GWNN is a network forum for the global women who are working in nature. This is the time where we should awake, or we should waken up to the people, those who are working at the grassroots level, as well as to the society. Because just now we were in a formal talks of mine and Ruth. We were talking about the climate change, and it's a horrible thing which is coming up. Actually, it's at our house now. We are here at 42 43 degrees centigrade temperature in Pune, in my region, Maharashtra. And I know a couple of people over here, especially Sunil Shastri ji. He is from UK, but right now he is here in Pune, and he is just trying to cope up with the heat and hot summer over here. So, this is the time where we should give some different innovative ideas. Also, with the implementation category, means it is not only that women, they love nature, they work for nature, they do something, they garden at their home and all, but there are certain women who are working on the global projects, and they are more important for the grassroots level people to listen, to understand, and to implement. So once again, warm welcome. I wanted to delete that word warm because it's very hot
It's
here.
a little
But
too
still,
warm.
still warm welcome to all of you, all the GWNN forum who are here on Zoom, because we on Zoom we restricted some people, but through YouTube we gave them access for the lectures. So over to you, Manasi. If you give permission, Ruth will be talking here as per, and give her share, means give her permission to share her screen and that technical things.
I
Thank
think
you.
I just am. There we go. Well, super. Thank you so much, Vinita, Manasi, and GWNN, and all of you who are listening, for the opportunity for us to talk about solar cooking. And it is, I love talking about solar cooking because it's such a simple technology with remarkable benefits. Where SCI is a global nonprofit with a mission to improve human health, economic well-being, women's empowerment, and the environment by promoting climate-friendly solar cooking for vulnerable populations worldwide. As I said, it has multiple benefits, especially for women. As I'll show, it's an incredibly cost-effective, simple, sustainable, climate-friendly technology that isn't just about cooking a meal. It's about improving human health, particularly women's health, the environment, the climate, and economic well-being of the world's most vulnerable populations. In fact, and there's rarely other technologies that do this, it actually meets all 17 of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. So this morning, or in my case this evening, I'll give a brief primer on why solar cooking matters, how solar cookers work, their multitude of benefits, SCI's role as a leader in the solar cooking movement, and how you can get engaged. Okay, now this. Now if I can only switch the, no, that's the wrong way. There we go. Okay, most cooking in the world's poorest regions, as many of you I'm sure are familiar, has been done in the same way since the beginning of time, over an open fire. According to the WHO, 2.4 billion people, mostly women, cook over open fires, burning wood, dung, and charcoal, thus breathing in smoke and soot for hours every day. Smoke from cooking over an open fire poses higher health risks than malaria, tuberculosis, and HIV/AIDS combined. The consequences for pregnant women are even worse. Children are also at high risk from indoor smoke pollution. Studies have found it leads to reduced lung function and a variety of respiratory infections, among other things. Having an open biomass fire in your kitchen is equivalent to burning 400, that's 400 cigarettes an hour. Then there is the danger inherent in collecting firewood. The bundles of wood that women have to carry can be greater than 60 pounds. Imagine carrying that 60 pounds on your head. Fetching wood for the fire also places women at high risk for sexual violence, as they have to go out into the forest further and further away from the safety of their villages. Poisoning is another risk. Liquid fuels are put into reused soda bottles, which can easily be mistaken for a beverage by a child. Finally, there is a time loss. Women are forced to spend most of the day focused on cooking. Think of how much more productive women could be if they could leave the cooking to the sun. Now to the environmental consequences. Deforestation. Estimates are that one family cooking with wood burns 1 ton of wood a year. Every time I give this talk, I think to myself, a ton? Is that really true? But it is 1 ton of wood a year. Now extrapolate that to the 2.4 billion cooking mostly with firewood. More than half of the deforestation in sub-Saharan Africa is attributable to trees cut for firewood and charcoal. Deforestation, in turn, leads to massive erosion, degrading both water and soil quality. And of course, the loss of forests, which serve as critical carbon sinks. Let me also add the consequence of using dung, the removable of which deprives the soil of nutrients, leading to poor harvests, which in turn keep families trapped in poverty. Finally, the climate impacts. All the fuel that is used releases tremendous amounts of CO2. According to the WHO, cooking with polluting fuels is responsible for half of all black carbon emissions, which is particularly damaging as its warming capacity can be up to 1,500 times greater than carbon dioxide. Now, the really good news. There is a simple, sustainable solution: solar cooking. As this map shows, much of the poorest regions of the world are also the richest in the sun. If harnessing the energy of sun for cooking in these regions became the norm, the impact would be extraordinary for women and the environment. The sun is free. We all know it. And it's a free, sustainable energy source. Solar cooking improves the health of women and their families, protects the environment, and creates energy independence. It frees up scarce income used to pay for fuel, for other necessities, and for time for women to pursue other activities to benefit their families and their communities. As I mentioned earlier, solar cooking addresses all 17 of the United Nations Sustainability Goals. So, what are solar cookers and how do they work? Simply put, they are devices that capture the free energy of the sun through the use of reflective surfaces to cook food and pasteurize water. The reflective surfaces are really simple, like aluminum foil, mirrors, and metal, which then directs the sunlight into a pot with a black surface. The pot has to have a black surface, which absorbs the heat. To contain the heat, the pot is then covered by a clear cover, glass or plastic. In fact, we've all experienced what it's like to be the food in the solar cooker. Just sit in a car with black seats in the summer with the windows rolled up. And that's exactly how it is when you cook food. And it is so simple to cook the food. When I first used the solar cooker, I took a sweet potato and I thought, I wonder how long this is going to take. I put my solar cooker, which looks a lot like that reflexive panel on the far left, and I put the potato in, black pot, put the lid on, put the plastic cover over it, and 40 minutes later, I had the sweetest sweet potato. It was all creamy because it is the sun sort of heats up the water molecules, and that's how the food cooks. And it was simply delicious and felt even better knowing, wow, I just cooked this with the sun. So, and you can cook all kinds of things, lots of stews and beans and lentils. I just cooked lentils the other day. It's terrific. So here's a couple of examples of solar cookers. From the very basic on the far left, that's actually made with cardboard on one side and aluminum foil on the other. The solar box oven, that's the one in the center, which can be built to contain several pots, so it can be bigger and bigger, as big as one wants to build a wooden box. And then you line the wooden box with aluminum foil or metal, and then you can see the reflective panels, and you just sit it up in front of the sun and you stand in front of it. And as long as your shadow falls over the center of the cooker, then you're good to go. The parabolic reflector of the one on the far right directs the sunlight onto the pan, which is sitting on a rod across the center of the cooker, making the surface much hotter, enabling grilling and frying. Critically important about all of these examples, they can be manufactured in local communities using local resources and local workers. There's no dependence on first world technology, and we believe that's absolutely vital for their adoption. There are several projects around the world training women and girls on how to build solar cookers. Solar cookers get hot enough to fully cook food, but not so hot as to burn or dry out food or damage healthful nutrients. It's actually wonderful. You don't have to stir food that is cooking in a solar cooker because the heat, there's no heat coming from the bottom. So like a stove or a fire, you always have to turn it so that the bottom doesn't get stuck and burnt. So it makes it so easy. Also, many foods can cook for several hours without overcooking, which allows the food to be placed in the cooker early in the day and left until mealtime. It also doesn't need to be stirred or monitored, freeing up women to spend their time more productively. I might also add, as I've said before, food cooked by the sun is also delicious. Since I live in Sacramento, California, which is hot in the summer, I use my cooker in the summer at least 2 to 3 times a week. Another terrific use of the solar cooker is, in fact, water pasteurization. Water pasteurizes at 65 degrees Celsius. A simple solar cooker heats up to 82 to 121 degrees. These women are using what we call a WAPI. It's a simple, it's like a little test tube, a little glass test tube attached to a wire. And the test tube is partially filled with wax. Then what you do is the user simply hangs the test tube over the pot. And when the wax melts, the water is at the temperature where it's pasteurized. So it's very, very simple. And you can see her solar cooker here. Again, it's cardboard on one side and aluminum foil on the other. Solar cooking technology also provides important entrepreneurial opportunities. Building and selling solar cookers, selling cooked food and solar drying. Here is a Nepalese woman cooking for her restaurant. In Mexico, at La Sazón del Sol, they operate a training center dedicated to women and provide workshops in the construction of solar cooking and solar drying. Here they have a solar drying table. With a primary focus on solar food drying, they prepare a variety of foods for sale. The group also produces solar tunnel dryers for sale. So these are the solar tunnel dryers that are for sale. We estimate that there are now over 4 million solar cookers being used today, which means over 5.8 million tons of CO2 emissions are prevented in 1 year the equivalent of taking more than 1.25 million cars off the road. While emissions-free and sustainable solar cooking is empowering families, countries are saving enormous amounts of money through avoided health and environmental costs. If everyone currently cooking with polluting fuels use solar cookers just 1/4 of the time, it's estimated over $1 trillion could be saved annually around the world. So let me tell you a little bit about Solar Cookers International. We are really the hub of the solar cooking movement. We're a nonprofit with over 35 years of experience in the solar cooking sector. We support the solar cooking movement through advocacy, research, and capacity building. Advocacy. Currently, we are the only organization solely dedicated to advocating for solar cooking with consultative status to the United Nations. This status gives us the ability to participate in UN conferences and committees, raising awareness and educating policymakers from around the world about the power of solar cooking to improve the lives of the most vulnerable populations in the world. An important part of our advocacy has been focused on getting clean cooking and solar cooking included in countries' nationally determined contributions, or NDCs, which are submitted in accordance with the Paris Climate Accords. As you can see, there's a lot of work to be done. Of 193 NDCs submitted to the United Nations, 71 mention cooking or an interest in using non-polluting fuels for cooking. Only 2 countries, Somalia and the Central African Republic, specifically include solar cooking as a sustainable approach. An important advocacy tool we've created is our solar impact summaries for almost 100 countries, and this is only where data is available. The summaries show the number of solar cookers currently identified in each country, the percentage of the population in each country relying on polluting fuels to cook, i.e. dung, charcoal, and firewood, and the estimated savings for each country if the population used solar cookers just 1/4 of the time. As you can see, the savings in health and environmental costs can reach into the billions annually. These statistics are invaluable for solar cooking advocates to use when seeking partnerships and support for solar cooking projects in their country. Most recently, we have also been working in countries and to help countries identify funding and grant opportunities with the United Nations. And right now we're working both with Mali and the Central African Republic to try and get grants through the United Nations to support the development and expansion of solar cooking projects in those countries. So from advocacy, we then go to research. We have been leading the effort in the solar cooking sector to develop international standards for household cookers. Our performance evaluation process measures the thermal performance in watts. Standardization is key to innovations in creating a sustainable and profitable solar cooking industry. We have test centers in the United Nations and at the University of Nairobi. And now for capacity building. As I mentioned, we are the largest network of solar cooking organizations. We have hundreds of collaborators in over 135 countries. We promote collaboration, education, and the sharing of best practices. We help build and strengthen relationships between solar project directors around the world. We have a great toolkit where you can learn everything you like about solar cookers. It's useful for individuals and organizations looking to adopt solar cooking. The Solar Cooker Wiki, which I encourage all of you to look at, and it's really, you can go down the rabbit hole and spend hours looking at all the different things that are happening in the solar cooking world, provides a wealth of knowledge with almost 1,800 pages of information about best practices, specific solar cooking information for 142 countries and who to connect with, how to build solar cookers, how to implement a successful solar cooking project, and news and events. The information on the wiki automatically translates into 46 languages, a great place to get started. We know that just dropping off new technology in a community is a recipe for failure. Critical to the adoption, as I'm sure many of you know, is engagement from the beginning of key community leaders, particularly women. And they might not be the formal leaders, they often are the informal leaders in the community. It's important to keep in mind, solar cooking is a new way of cooking that requires changes to long-standing traditions. So one shouldn't have unrealistic expectations. Full adoption will be slow. The quick needs assessment helps organizations assess the need and desire for solar cooking in a community. Excuse me. It's a foundational step in creating a successful solar cooking initiative. The compiled data can help project managers formulate the appropriate solar cooking initiative for their community. In the end, if the benefits don't outweigh the challenges of using existing cooking practices, it will be hard to get women to adopt solar cooking. And that's why you need their feedback from the beginning. SCI also continues its involvement in a couple of key projects, which has provided many lessons learned to share with the field. Since 2018, our largest is at the Kakuma refugee camp, administered by the United Nations in northwestern Kenya, which houses approximately 200,000 refugees from around the region. Solar cookers used at the camp are manufactured by the Eco Mandate Foundation in Nairobi. They manufacture a family-sized solar box oven designed in Kenya by Kenyans using material found in Kenya for use in Kenya. And you can see the size of them. So you can fit many pots and cook many things all at the same time. Key to the adoption is training. We first target early adopters, then their friends and neighbors come and see how easy and cheap it is. And then they want to get a solar cooker. These women then become trainers the following year. In addition to solar cooking, they learn about water pasteurization and heat retention cooking. Families are reducing their cooking fuel expenses by 66%, saving almost $4 a week because they aren't paying for fuel. And for these women, that's a huge percentage of their budget, so hugely important. So our impact. In Kakuma, over 1,900 people are benefiting from solar cooking from over 234 solar cookers distributed since 2018. We are also partnering with the Foundation for Sustainable Technologies in Nepal to implement solar cooking in fragile communities. And for the past 2 years, we've actually just completed this project, consulting on a project in Yemen to support solar cooking in coastal communities. So let me end with a message from one of the local trainers at Kakuma. It takes a little bit, but if you're patient, we'll actually be able to get the video most of the time. Here we go.
With regard to the solar cooker, actually our students have seen the new technology, and majority of them are acknowledging that it is the solution to Kakuma operations. And like for the female ladies, they are like, this one, we must have it. It will help us to kind of reduce us moving up and down to fetch firewood. It will reduce many risks, but majority of them, maybe when they go outside there to fetch firewood, they encounter problems. You see, we have issues of SGBV and things like that. And if actually this is at home, it will help them reduce all this. By the end of the day, it is clean. we have testified, we have seen the food, we are taking it. I'm going to share with my friends. You see? For me, I think this is the way to go for Kakuma as far as cooking energy is concerned.
So, and then
As cooking energy.
Finally, to learn more, if I can get that slide, which seems to be having a problem, and get engaged in spreading the word, please check out our resources, which happen to be on this next slide, but are not showing up. Let's see here. Okay, let me just share the screen again. Sorry about that. And I will get down to the last slide because you'll want this information. Okay, there we go. Sorry, it's a little small. Let me make it bigger. There we go. So to sign up for more information, as you can see, you can go to our website. You can access a lot of the resources through our website, solarcookers.org, or the wiki, solarcooking.org. And there you can also, from our website, you can download one of the country sheets that I was telling you about, and to share it with organizations and officials in your own countries. And we would be very happy to help you do that. If you want to know how to make a solar cooker, again, you can go to our solar cooker wiki. And we would encourage all of you to think about and to share the idea of adopting solar cooking. It is so simple, it's inexpensive, and it's fun, and it helps women's health and the environment and the climate. You can't go wrong with solar cooking. So with that, thanks again for your attention, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. With this, we will proceed for a question and answer session. So kindly, I ask everyone one by one, you can start asking question to our Ruth ma'am.
I see we have something from Jean-Paul from the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Oh, you're just following. Do you have any questions?
Okay, Ruth, I have one question. Yeah. See, we are using solar cooker since my childhood. I mean, that was in when it has invented. My mother got it from someone. So that time it was very heavy and it was difficult to carry out and those kind of things. So we have placed it over there only. We were staying, living in a rented house. So it was a really fear for us that it should be stolen and those kind of things. But after that, it has evolved. There are good models, but still, I feel that there has a chance to evolve those models. So are anyone working for this? Because one of my friend, I know him, he have evolved it for the window model. It is just like a speaker, see, like a funnel. And I also purchased that and put it on my window. But that model is not very successful, I can say, because we had a lot of difficulties for that. There was no vent for the water, and and even the Even the rice was not cooked very well. But if there are any small kind of cookers where only one person's rice can cook, because there's a lot of problems here in India that people are staying alone everywhere. Means it's not of the India there are many other people also surrounding us, but for the bigger cooker, then it get difficult to cook a small quantity of rice. So are anyone evolving these kind of models?
Well,
You
I
know anyone?
have 2 solar cookers. I just inherited a Sun oven, which is bigger, but the one that I have originally, unfortunately, it's in the garage. I should have thought to bring it. It's made of mylar, so it's very light, and
Okay.
it folds up, and you just unfold it, and it's circular like this.
Mhm.
And put one pot in it and set it outside. I cook rice, I cook beans, I cook lentils in it all the time. And, you can cook a little bit or you can cook more. I generally cook for sort of 2 or 3 helpings so that I don't have to cook it every day. And I just put it in containers and stick it in the fridge. But it's super simple. It's really light. If you have a balcony, for example, that gets a lot of sun, and you need, well, for the sweet potato, you need 40 minutes of sun, but for rice, it probably takes longer, depending how the food cooks. Depends entirely on the cooker and the amount of sun. But as long as you have sun that is hitting the cooker, you're good to go.
Very good. Do you have any picture of that folding cooker?
Pardon? Yeah,
Do you
this is
have a
called,
picture?
let me put the name of the cooker in the chat that I use. It's called the Haynes 2. And as I said, that's just made with mylar. So it's very simple. And I like it a lot. If you go up on our website, you can see they're all different kinds of solar cookers, big ones, small ones. I forgot to mention in India, there is a temple that feeds 50,000 people a day, and they have they look like satellite discs, but in fact on the roof, just rows and rows and rows that automatically turn towards the sun. And what they do is they heat water. Then the water, the steam that's created, then is funneled down into the kitchen. So the stove is actually heated through steam and the food is cooked that way. It's really clever. India, there are various manufacturers in India, lots of people who are promoting and using solar cookers, and you can find them again on the wiki.
Okay, good. Thank you so much. I think somebody have put one question, I suppose.
I see in the chat, how did you manage to use solar cooker energy in food preparation? It's very simple because all the solar cookers that I showed, they have panels all around them, shiny panels. So you need metal or aluminum foil, something that is shiny. And the sun hits those panels, reflects off of them into the pot. And then the pot is heated. It's really important. The pot has to be black so that absorbs the heat. And then you have a cover on top of the pot so that it keeps the heat in. And you can do solar cooking. It's not about the air temperature. It is about the sun. So we have people who solar cook in Minnesota, who solar cook in the winter, because it's about the sun. It's not about the heat.
Right. Any other have questions?
Ma'am, I have a question.
Yes.
As is there any design available for mini portable easy solar cooker which can help for the trekking persons, or they can carry with them?
Is there, I didn't hear the last part. Can you repeat the question?
Is there any design available for mini portable solar cookers?
There are all kinds of designs, and lots of people are designing them all the time. Because the key thing is to have panels of some kind of reflective surface in a box, or as I said, mine is made of mylar and is circular. An old satellite dish works really well. So you can use most anything.
Thank you, ma'am. So anyone else?
Now, while using solar cookers, it's great if you're in a village so that you can have it outside and you have outside room. But for people that live in apartments, we actually, one of our volunteers, he lives in Minnesota and loves solar cooking. And so he built a little platform out of his window, and it's south facing, so he gets a lot of sun there, and he has a solar cooker that he has there, and he always he cooks his tea and coffee with his solar cooker outside of his window. So, you know, you can set up all kinds of things.
Anyone else?
Oh, I see. Is it working in rainy and winter seasons? Unfortunately not. It needs the sun. So, you know, what you can do, and some people say, well, if I cook early, how do I keep the food warm? There are heat retention baskets. You can just get a basket and put towels inside or fabric. Put the hot pot inside and put a lid on it, and it keeps it warm for several hours. But you know, you can't cook with the sun when there's no sun. But it's still, the advantages are huge, because that means, you know, you're not paying for wood or charcoal or dung 100% of the time. You know, you're only using those things, and you're only cooking over an open fire when there isn't any sun. And as you saw, even just reducing, only using solar cooking a quarter of the time saves an incredible amount of money for the country, and it certainly benefits the individual household, because that's less money that they need to spend on fuel.
Right. I can see Sunil Shastriji. Anything from your side? You want to? You are on mute.
Many thanks, Vinita, for recognizing me. I'm always amazed at the kind of stuff people do, and people sort of try to, you know, get going, as it were. And I'm really grateful to you, Ruth. I'm not really asking a question, but you know, just some thoughts come to my mind, and I thought I'll mention them to you. So I'm very grateful to you, Ruth, for your talk today. Let me begin by my hashtag. I know my hashtag is "Women Will Write Wonders Worldwide." You know, and
I like
you
your
know,
hashtag.
yeah. So that's the hashtag I always use, and Vinita is one example of that, and you are another example of that, and you're doing stuff to make changes in the world, you know, in whatever, you know, incremental kind of ways. And I'm much grateful to you, people like you, for that. You mentioned about women collecting firewood every day and the perils that they have to suffer as a result of that. Firewood and along with water are the two things that women spend most of their life collecting, fetching, as it were. And UNICEF, actually, I read a report some time ago, which said that women spend up to 500 million hours every day. You know, so this is from the countries of Asia, Africa, and Latin America, mostly poor developing countries of Asia, Africa, and Latin America. So 500 million hours every day just to collect or fetch, as you would like to say, water and firewood. What a colossal waste of time. What a colossal waste of time, of their talents, of their future, of their education, of their social growth, all those things. Nothing happens. They can't learn anything new. They're just spending all their waking hours probably in collecting water. And again, with the environmental issues getting worse as they are, which Vanita mentioned, the distances that they have to travel to get the water and the firewood are increasing day by day. So this 500 hours a day is not any time reducing fast. It is probably increasing fast. So solutions like yours are absolutely, crucial to these kind of issues. But this brings me actually to a very bittersweet memory of my own. Vinita mentioned that she had a solar cooker when she was little. My first experience of a solar cooker only came in 1985 when my father and mother moved to the house that we live in. That's where I'm speaking from now. And they moved there in 1985. And Vinita has been to the house, so she knows exactly what the house is like. And we have a upstairs sort of a terrace. And right in 1985, my father got a box solar cooker, the one that you showed, and that had 3 pots. One was 4 pots actually, yeah, 4 pots, black pots, and one was for rice, one was for dal, and 2 were for 2 different vegetables. So you cooked every day 2 vegetables, just as you have in the West, meat, potato, and 2 veg. So this is in India, it is dal, rice, and 2 veg. So and chapatis, of course, you make the rotis. So it was my father's job because he would get bathed and everything and do his prayers, etc. in the morning, and it'd be all done by about 8:39. And my mother would prep the food, and my father would take the pots upstairs to put in the box. Because again, as Vinita said, the box was heavy, so the box was permanently kept on the terrace. And my father did that. Then I went to England in '88, and I went on my own for the first year, just to get my feet on the ground before I got my wife and my little son. So my son and my wife stayed with my parents for a year, for the first year. And that time, my son obviously was getting used to this solar cooked food. And occasionally, when my mother thought she would do something different, or she would cook the rice on the gas cooker, he was only 3 at that time, and he would say, "Oh, you didn't cook it in the solar cooker. So what you said about the taste being delicious, is also very true." Even that 3-year-old boy could recognize the difference between the food that is cooked on the gas and in the solar cooker. Bittersweet, because this carried on until 2002, 17th of February to be precise. And my father put the solar cooker for the last time on the terrace. And then in the afternoon, he suffered a heart attack and died that night. So that's a bittersweet memory. But unfortunately, then the solar cooker stopped being used. But then we got a maid servant who also works for us now, and Vinita has met her also. I shouldn't call her a maid servant now. We should call her house help. But anyway, this house help of ours, she has inherited that solar cooker, and she uses it. And
that's great.
Yeah, and it's still, basically, it's an investment of nothing, that a few hundred rupees that my father made in 1985. It continues to work because there's nothing to go wrong in it. There's no investment required. There's no recurring expenditure.
Exactly.
So with all of that, these things are so simple, and they are a no-brainer, as we say in the West. And the final point that I want to make is we always talk in terms of high-tech solutions, and we say poor countries can't have high-tech solutions. And then we talk of low-tech solutions for the poor countries. And then we come out with ideas such as intermediate technology. So we'll say, oh, we'll come somewhere in between or something like that. But most of the times, the solutions are staring us in the face, you know, and those I call as appropriate technology, you know, and appropriate technology is technology that local people can develop themselves, you know, run it themselves and run it as cheaply as possible and are environmentally friendly. And they are also taking care of people's livelihoods and people's social and intellectual and educational, etc., life, etc. So from all those points of view, I think you have done a talk which is a great eye opener. And I hope that more people take up solar cooking in India, where sun is absolutely plentiful. You know, so in many other ways that we can use the sun, this is one day-to-day use that everybody can make use of. I'm really grateful to you for that. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you for that. It was a great testimony to solar cooking. I think one of the things that we want to do, you know, by spreading the word is having different organizations that work with communities adopting solar cooking and bringing solar cookers to those communities. And then you can even have an entrepreneurial component where people are learning to make the solar cookers and then they can sell the solar cookers. They can cook food and sell the food in the solar cookers. You know, and governments don't have to pay. I think in India too, there's quite the competition for liquid gas, you know, and people buying liquid gas and maybe subsidizing that, but that's expensive. And so solar cooking, it can't be done 365 days of the year, but it can be done a lot, particularly in the global south. And that should be sort of one piece of the puzzle. And as you said, it is tragic that all that energy and talent that women have is being wasted because they have to spend so much time collecting the firewood and focused on cooking. And it doesn't have to be that way.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Very good.
I see a question. How much time will it take to cook compared to a gas stove? So it's faster in a gas stove. I will say that. But if you had a parabolic solar cooker, which is like a satellite dish, one of the pictures I showed you, you know, food cooks really fast in that. And at the beginning of my presentation, there was a woman from Nepal with one of those and a frying pan, and that heats up and you can cook chapati in that, or tortillas if you're in Mexico. And it can get really hot. So it also depends on the quality of the solar cooker. A sun oven, I baked brownies in it to make a presentation to a class the other day. And in the oven, it cooks 30 minutes. And in the sun oven, it was done in 40 minutes. And the oven the sun oven was at 350 degrees. So it can cook pretty fast. But also, you know, for lentils and beans and things like that, the food needs to cook slowly anyway, and it tastes delicious.
Okay, good. Are there any questions? No. Okay. Good. Very nice, Ruth. I know one organization when I started this Ter Policy Center earlier in 2009, and I visited Nepal in 2011. I visited one organization. They are cooking even the bread, I mean Indian bread, on the Parabol solar station. It is a big organization for the refugees, and they started cooking, means they started cooking with the rice and dal. But after that, one very enthusiastic woman, she started making chapatis, Indian bread on that solar thing, and I was amazed with that. But see, sometimes no, there people need to do the cooking, and they want to do the cooking on solar, but they have a little time, and that is the only concern which I see for the solar cooking, especially the rice and dal, because the working women, they leave house very early, around 8:30, and if they put the cooker in the balcony and all, uh, because of this kind of heat in India, the rice got burned, and that's why they are not using the every day on the weekdays, but they use in the weekends. So
Well,
if
at
yeah,
least they're using it, and you can put it in. The other thing is that it can be in for several hours. You can be away. It's
yeah,
cooked, but then the sun is moved, so it stays cooked. But as long as we use a microwave, we use an oven, so we use different things all over the world. We don't just use one thing.
correct. So anyway, I think nobody now are raising the hand or nothing in the chat. So I'm very much thankful, Ruth, to know you and your work. And I think with this, our collaboration starts. So whatever
I hope so.
comes in between, we will contact each other. And once again, I'm very happy. If anyone wants to listen again, I will contact you, and we can arrange in next 6 months' time again your speech on the solar book. Yeah.
Happy to do it and answer any other questions. And for people who want to know more, just go to our website or solarcooking.org, and that's the wiki with all the information that you want on solar cooking and more.
Yeah.
Thanks very much.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Mansi, conclude.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, before we conclude, I would like to extend our sincere gratitude to our esteemed guest for their invaluable insights, expertise, and time. Ma'am, your contributions have truly enriched our discussion and enhanced the overall experience for all the members. So with this, I have a small announcement. You can become a registered member of GWNN by registering on our website. And I would like to request to confirm if any of our members would like to host the next monthly meeting. Kindly email us in advance. The next monthly meeting will be hosted by Mansi Karandikar Ma'am, Oikos Ecological Services on 29th May, Stories of Restoration Part 2. With this, I end today's meeting. Thank you. Thank you all.